And the other thing that we're in great trouble with is, I have a big concern. The fact that the mainstream media started covering the comments of Hillary Clinton and John Podesta on this makes me think someone's pulled the trigger to do a false flag disclosure where sort of like what Werner von Braun, who invented the rocket for Adolf Hitler, said. He says they're going to hoax a threat from outer space, and it will fool everyone on Earth, and it's all a lie. It's all a big lie. And what I think is that I'm a little concerned that we need to hurry. This is, the June of 2016, and Werner von Braun was making those warnings on his deathbed 40 years ago in the 1970s. And I think that we're at the point where something that's 1,000 times worse than 9/11 is going to be unleashed on the world if we, the people, don't get ahead of it and expose the lie for what it is. So that's the other thing we're asking for. People who know about what I call the cosmic false flag operation need to step forward and need to step forward now. Some years ago, I don't know if you remember this story, Dr. J, there was a man that came to the 1997 briefings for Congress that we organized in Washington, who was on an interagency committee, intelligence committee, that had all the plans in place to launch a false flag operation that would be like a cosmic 9/11 that would fool everyone. And he, the night before we did the briefings for members of Congress, he was approached by people he had worked for back in the 70s when he was on this interagency committee, and they begged him not to tell this story, and they took him out to a secure location out in Virginia outside of Washington until after the event was over. But he had told me about what he was going to testify to, and he was going to testify to the fact that, and we need more people like him now to come forward, that there was a plan that was fully operational in 1974. And he knew it had been in place well before the time he was involved, where they could hoax by using man-made anti-gravity devices, things that look like UFOs, and by using holograms and other special effects, and hoax an alien attack on something on Earth that would convince people that we had to quick unite the world, as Ronald Reagan said, around an alien threat. And he said it was all a hoax and it's all stagecraft. But he said everything was in place over 40 years ago. And I then found people who said, oh, yes, that plan was concocted by people at the CIA in the 1950s. And that's what they meant in these documents that we're going to release through this film and book that talk about the psychological warfare value of the subject and why they engaged Disney Studios. This is in a 1953 document, by the way, to do movies about this and Little Green Men. They wanted it either ridiculed or they wanted it spun in the direction of a threat from outer space. So all this stuff that's going on with the mainstream media beginning to cover this, and covering some people in the UFO ghetto, the sort of subculture of the UFO world, makes me concerned because the spin that I think they're getting ready to put on it, or they have been putting on it. If you look at the interview that was done by with the Blink-182 guy that I
Tom
into the
DeLonge,
subject,
yeah,
with Tom DeLonge, and it was all, the aliens are here to eat us for lunch and we need to go to war with them. And he's being fed disinformation from guys at the Pentagon, and he doesn't know that he's being played as a mouthpiece for the false information to the world. So they have people that they're using who are witting and unwitting mouthpieces for this agenda. And the agenda was set back in the 50s when Douglas MacArthur said World War III will be interplanetary. So these guys have been planning this kind of nonsense since about the time I was born, and I'm no spring chicken. And I'll tell you right now that the only thing that's a bigger threat to the world than keeping all the free energy technology secret and destroying the biosphere is the public being stampeded into a false flag, cosmic false flag like I'm talking about. unfortunately, there's the thinnest line of sanity between that now and that happening. And we've got to get people, we need to have more whistleblowers who have known about this before it happens to expose it. Because if it's exposed in advance, they can't do it. You see what I'm saying? Because the public will know it's a hoax.